So hello and welcome to the beginning of this week and this week's series, meditation and Dharma Talk. And I remember last Monday coming here after the retreat and not quite finding my words or kind of feeling quiet inside. So to start this meditation, I'd like to ask you maybe a little unusual question for setting the stage for meditation. And that is, for you, for each of you individually, what comes to mind as you hear this question? There's many possible answers, but what gets evoked in you as a response to this question? Or what does this question point to in you? So for you, what is the opposite of hostility? Within you, your body, your heart, your mind, your emotions, what do you see at this moment as the opposite of hostility? It could be love, it could be generosity, it could be peace, peacefulness, it could be kindness, friendliness, it could be care, caring, compassion. It could be a calm, a stillness. It could be confidence, stability. There's a wide range of things that it might be. And if you close your eyes, and if something came up as the opposite, either something specific or just a vague sense, is there any place in your body that opposite lives? Any place in your body that you associate with that opposite? Could be anywhere at all. And if there is such an association, such a place, or you can maybe just choose a place to hold the opposite, take a few long, slow breaths breathing through that place. Almost like it's a balloon that you're blowing up on the inhale and letting it peacefully relax on the exhale. Or like a gentle wind that blows over the surface of it, refreshing it. Taking deep breaths, and as you exhale, relax your body. And as you relax into that place, like you're settling into it. Letting your breathing return to normal. And continue relaxing your body. But maybe it's possible to relax into this opposite of hostility. To this place where that lives for you, even if it's not present now. If there's a particular state that is for you that is the opposite of hostility, very quietly in your mind, for maybe 3 or 4 times, gently, slowly, repeat the word for this state. Drop the word into your body and let it spread outward like the ripples in a pond. And then to let your thinking mind become a bit quieter, as if you're approaching this place of the opposite of hostility. You're approaching it with respect and care, attentiveness to feel and sense, and make room for it. And then to continue now with a quiet meditation, perhaps breathing with this opposite, or letting your mindfulness, your awareness somehow be informed by this quality. Letting the opposite of hostility be what nourishes your practice during this meditation. to bring this meditation to an end, to consider the opposite of hostility and to offer that sentiment out into the world, to consider how you could meet other people today with this opposite. Consider how they can be the attitude in which you think about people, consider people. Especially if you end up feeling hostile, remember this opposite. And perhaps you can live the day with part of you oriented towards benefiting this world, leaving the world a little better place by the end of the day by the friendliness, the kindness, the smiles, the generosity that you offer. May all beings be happy. May all beings be safe. May all beings be peaceful. And may all beings be free. So, hello again, and on this Monday morning, and for those of us in the United States, it's a holiday, the Juneteenth Day holiday, the second of the two, or the first of the year of the two independence holidays here in the United States. And I gave a talk about this holiday yesterday. So, last week I talked about the emotions and offering 5 different perspectives on emotions for support in practicing with them. And this week I wanted to take some specific emotions and like case studies and go through them. And I decided that I would start with anger. And when I considered anger, I considered that there's actually a lot to say. And maybe it's more useful to spend the 5 days on this topic rather than just doing one day and be done with it. So that's what we'll do. And maybe the title of this week can be Respecting Anger. Anger, of course, is a very important emotion, attitude, motivating force in our society. And a tremendous amount of harm gets caused through anger. And one of the, I don't know if it's fair to say that any one particular harm of anger is worse than others, but what comes to mind in the moment is the tremendous influence it can have on young children if they grow up with anger. They grow up afraid of unexpected anger coming at them. And also, anger is a protective device. Anger also, some people motivated by anger will protect other people, protect their children, protect society. Some people, with their anger, protect themselves and set up strong boundaries and strong no, and can be ferocious sometimes in 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 that protective movement. Some people, by their anger, can put a tremendous amount of energy into a cause, a good cause, because of the energy is forcing them. So anger has many different expressions in our society, and but in one of the and it can be confusing because sometimes anger is treated as something that's wrong or bad, painful, and sometimes it's treated as something that's necessary and important and justified. And in Buddhism, whenever there's a discussion about anger, in Buddhist English, the discussion implies that anger has hostility as part of it. So if that's how we see it, then we have to come up with another word for something like anger or anger which has no hostility in it. There might be a very strong expression of displeasure that will look like anger, but there's no hostility in it. There can be very strong movement, ferocious movement of protection, of a strong no, but there's no hostility. There's no desire to harm anyone. It's just setting up a very strong statement of asserting a certain ferocity of purpose, ferocity of negation, something. And so a very useful way of looking at our anger is to look and see, is there any hostility in it? And if there is, be careful. The hostility, I would like to suggest, is never necessary, never appropriate. Ferocious boundary setting, ferocious standing in front and saying, stop, ferocious sense of displeasure, this is not right. That, I think, can be very healthy for ourselves and for others. And the first time I saw that was when I was working in the kitchen. I was a kitchen manager at the monastery, the Zen monastery. And I don't remember the details of what led up to this, what I did, but I was kind of the manager managing other people in the kitchen. And the kitchen was kind of a pressure cooker. And an older man who was in the kitchen, we were standing next to each other on the big table. And he just stood up straight and turned to me and with ferocity said to me, "Don't ever say that to me again." And so it was quite ferocious, but what was amazing to me was the moment as he said it, I could, he turned it off. He was back to being kind of clean and clear, just present doing his work. And I was so surprised because I only experienced before that people stayed angry. People were upset that they would stay and there'd be a kind of a conflict and a fight. And he had this clean anger. It was completely clean. It was just like, don't do this again. And he said what had to be said, and he wasn't carrying it. He wasn't continuing with it. It wasn't like I was forgiven, but I didn't need to be forgiven. It was just like I got the message, and he wasn't holding on to it. He wasn't carrying anything with it. He just said what had to be done. And I was so amazed by this, that you can take care of yourself this way. But regardless, if anger is only defined as having hostility, or it's anger that's a kind of ferocious boundary setting or displeasure, it's helpful to see anger always as a messenger, always as something to study and get to know better. That anger is a tip of an iceberg of something deeper inside of us. that probably be useful to get to know well, to understand well. Part of the challenge of any kind of anger is that it tends to be directed towards something and with such strength of directionality, even if it's towards something inside of ourselves, that we don't see the bigger picture. And we don't see where the anger is coming from. It's directed outwards, and we don't look backwards to see what is happening there, what's going on there. And that's what the practice is about. Very broadly, in broad strokes, kind of, there are 4 stages that Buddhists can point to around anger. One is unrestrained anger. You see it sometimes in a young child, where they're just completely consumed by their anger. And I've had it with my child when was a toddler, and I was carrying him through the supermarket aisles and having a temper tantrum about something. And probably I just assumed that people at the store thought that I was just a horrific father. And I know that other parents have had this experience too, where the child, just unrepressed, pure, volcanic anger at something that maybe it was that they saw a toy that they wanted, but it wasn't really the time to give them a toy in the store, buy it for them. And so the first, there's unrestrained anger, where it's explosive, freely given, felt like every anger is justified, and then very broadly, then the next kind of stage is holding anger in check. Sometimes repressing it, denying it, hiding it, and because it's dangerous to express the anger or something. And some people, as they grow up, and they learn that growing up. Sometimes they learn it with the violence done to them, that they express anger and they're hit or attacked or something, and so they learn that they can't express any anger, and they bottle it up or turn it off somehow. The third is what we do in this practice. We respect it, we attend to it, we study it, we get to know it better. And we get to know it without shame, without further anger towards the anger. We get to know it because it is an expression of our life force. It is an expression of what it means to be alive. And it arises out of it's not just anger that's happening. It's something deeper and fuller about who we are that's in that anger. Our values, our emotions, our fears, our desires, our loves, our past sufferings and pains and wounds. A whole bunch of constellation of things come together. Some of them which is part of our beauty and wonderfulness, and some of it is that which is what we're trying to let go of in practice. To let go of conceit, the self-centeredness, intense self-centeredness is often a recipe for intense anger and hostility. And so that kind of anger we don't want to give free rein to, but we don't want to repress it either. What we want to do is turn around and really look deeply. What's going on here? And meditation is one of the best places for this. In meditation, you're committed to being still, not moving your body. You're not going to punch anyone out or scream at anyone. And to give, so you might even try it. When you find yourself having anger, go sit down to meditate. And let the anger be a volcano. Let the anger course through you. And just feel it, make room for it. Keep letting go of the thoughts, the stories, and let the body compost the anger. Let the body hold and process the anger. And sit there, allowing it, but being present for it, feeling it in the body. And see what happens. This is very respectful of anger. It allows it to be there, but we're not fueling it and feeding it with more and more activity and stories, but this is a place to really get to know it. And then the fourth stage of Buddhist practice, at least with anger, is that anger doesn't get triggered. Partly because we've learned other ways of responding, other ways of boundary setting or protecting, other motivations that get what needs to be done. And partly because the attachments that we have, the clinging, the conceits that are part of the triggers for anger, are no longer there. And there might be strong displeasure, but no hostility at all. So that's kind of an introduction for this week. We'll spend the week looking at anger, and as a little homework assignment for this next day, or for as you go forward here, see if you can learn to be comfortable, or to be empty, or to be non-reactive to other people angry at you. It doesn't mean that they're justified in the anger, or they should be angry, or hopefully, it's a safe context for this to happen. Don't do anything unsafe. But if you can learn to be present and stay relaxed and breathe when other people are angry, this will go a long way to your ability to do that for yourself. So whether you're angry or you're the recipient of anger, see if you can practice mindfulness in the middle of it. It's invaluable. So this is what we'll do this week, and it's a difficult topic, and hopefully I'll do it in a way that is respectful for all the different ways that people have experienced anger, been angry, been harmed by anger, and that each of you will maybe hopefully find some usefulness in what's said this week. Thank you.